we're going to go to the chart of accounts. Now this chart of accounts is replacing the department, fund, and object code that we know now. And everybody's comfortable with. All right? Now what we tried to do is make it similar such that there wouldn't be too big of a learning curve in understanding the values. All right? Now there are some things that did change drastically, but I think a majority of this stuff stayed pretty close to the way it was in the old system. Okay? First field is business unit. And there's only one, in this area of the column, tells you what the value is. There's only one value, USC 01. So every campus is USC 01. That'll be pre-populated on everybody's drop down when they log in because there's only one value. If one of our foundations decided to get on PeopleSoft, our version of PeopleSoft, then we would have another business unit there because we have to keep everything separate. But there's no plan to do that anywhere near in the future, okay? So that's only one value. You shouldn't even have to put it in. It'll be pre-populated USC 01. Next, we go to operating unit. And you'll see up here the X's. That tells you how big the field is. And also on the second part here, it tells you what it is a combination of from our current system. So it's campus plus responsibility. All right? So we'll show you the values for each one of the campuses on the next slide. But I will tell you that Aiken's value right there is going to be AK 000. All right? And we'll show you the values for the other campuses if you do transactions between campuses so that you'll know what the values are. Here, the next one is department. And basically, the department has expanded. You'll see it's a little bit bigger than our current department. But it's basically going to be the same values on the Columbia campus, but for the campuses, we had to come up with a different numbering convention. You're currently 17110. Everybody knows that. In PeopleSoft, as we go through this, you'll see that we're going to have limited number of funds and more departments. So if we left you at 17110, you would run out real quick of departments. So we have moved you over on the other side of the spectrum to 91000000. So you have enough numbers to expand. All right? Now we didn't pick on Aiken. All the campuses moved over to the 9 series, okay? But the reasoning was that you're going to need a wider span of numbers, and that's the only way we could do it, all right? And then you get to fund. Fund is still going to be, the numbering of the lettering of it is we're still going to have A funds, we're still going to have B funds, we're still going to have F funds, we're still going to have W funds, we're still going to have Z funds. All of those are still there. We're not coming up with any numbers for them. We're sticking with the letters. We started off with numbers, and then when our consultants saw what we had, they said, no, you better go back to the letters. It'll be a lot easier for everybody when you try to go live for everybody to understand. So we have, in the second character, added another letter sometimes. But the first letter is still going to stay the same as it currently is. Okay? Now, we'll show you some examples in the next few slides after we get through this of certain values. And then you get to class. Class is program and subprogram. And probably everybody in here has never even known that there was a program and a subprogram. But behind our current department funds, there is a program and a subprogram. And it never affected you in our current world. Unfortunately, the value has to be put in PeopleSoft. And what it is the Nakubo reporting of there's a value for instruction. So is that account used for instruction? Is it used for research? Is it used for facilities? Is it used for community service? You go on, there's a wide range. It goes from 100s all the way to 900s. And we'll show you the value later on. The account that you have now has those values, and it's just coming to the surface such that you have to know the 3-character number. Now, once you learn it, you just always use it, okay? So such that if the account is always used for instruction, the value of 101 is instruction. So you always remember it's 101. So once you learn it, there's the excitement of having to know what that number is goes away. The flexibility with PeopleSoft allows you to say, I'm using this account to purchase something for research. In our current world, if you use that same account to pay for something for research, it would still be stuck in instruction because there's no way to move it from instruction to research. But with PeopleSoft, if that particular purchase goes to another type category, you can change it on that transaction just for that transaction. And that way you're reporting exactly what those expenditures are for. But 98% of the time, whatever the value is that's tied to that account, that's what you'll use. But it gives us the ability to move the payments to better represent what it's being used for.
And where will we find that number?
In PeopleSoft, there's a drop down that'll tell you all the values. But we have a screenshot, and we've sent this to Sandy, and she's going to get it out to everybody. So you can sit back and enjoy the ride, or you can take notes. You can do both. But you're going to get everything that you see today. All right? All right. So that's what that is for. And once you learn what your value is, it'll just be clockwork. You won't have to worry about it. The next value is product. And this is a new field that we're going to use. And the name of it being product kind of probably throws everybody off. But really, what we're using it for is term right now. And then we're going to, in the future, we may use it for other things. Such that anybody that works with the tuition accounts or the fee accounts, we now have an A901, an A902, an A903, and an A904. All the fees that the university charges, whether it's technology fee, fall, spring, summer 1, summer 2, all those type fees, you have 4 accounts for each one of those fees. What PeopleSoft is going to allow us to do by using this product field is we're going to have one account for tuition. And then if it's fall tuition, you put fall in that field. And if it's spring, you put spring. And then you're going to have one account for technology fee. And then you put the term in that field. Such that we're cutting down the number of accounts that we need to use. Okay? Now, as we get comfortable with this product field, we could use it for other things after we go live. If we go live, that's all we're going to use it for. All right? So we may find things that we would like to use it for on your campus, and we might find that the university as a whole would find something that would be needed with that field, and we would set it up. Now that field is a drop-down field, and only the values that are in there can be used. So the Aiken campus can't say, okay, well, we'd like to put this value in the field, and this value in the field, and this value in the field. It will not allow you to free-form the information such that it has to go through Columbia. We have to set up the values, and then it can be used. Okay? Now we got to account. And I've been at the university for a long time, and when somebody says account, I think of the department and the fund, and that's the account. In PeopleSoft, account is what we currently call our object code. So that'll be a terminology thing you'll have to get used to. When somebody says, what's your account? You're going to say, are you talking about the old department fund, or are you talking about the object code? And over time, people will just say, account is 52070, or account is whatever it is for food. Understand? Not your department fund. Now, as far as the values for account, we have not changed them drastically. Okay? We have left them the same, such that 52070 still means the same thing. Value for food still the same. Everything stays the same. We're adding some additional revenue object codes, and we're also cleaning up some of our asset object codes, because a lot of the buildings, for those of you that work with the buildings, they have a one object code that starts with a 1, and those are going into a separate module themselves so that we don't have to keep up with each one of those asset codes. Okay, so some of those are going away and being cleaned up. And then probably the biggest change for those of you who have to deal with your HR and payroll is that fringe is moving from 54,600 up to the 51s. So we're going to put it in the 51s so that when you do a range, you can stay in the 51s. You don't have to do all your 51s plus 54. So we have an opportunity to switch that one, so we're going ahead and switch that. Okay? All right. Now, everything on the top row except for product is mandatory on each transaction, such that you have to fill it out. You have to have a value there for every transaction. Okay? Product is not mandatory. And going back to product, that information is going to be fed from Banner. So we're going to take a feed from Banner every night. And so every transaction that's paid for a fall or spring tuition or any of the fees will come over through Banner, and that field will be automatically populated. So the majority of the folks will see values in that field, but they won't be keying a lot of information in that field, because Banner's doing the work for you. Okay? And it's coming over every night. Now, if Banner, or if the person dealing with fees puts it in the wrong term, you may have to do a journal entry to move it from one term to the other. So that may be the rare time that you use.
Or better would be to have Banner change it.
Yeah. It'd be better if Banner, if you go to your Banner folks and say, that should be fall, not spring, and then the next time they feed it through, they make that correction. All right? All right. Now we're getting down to the non-mandatory mandatory chart fields, and they are going to be used if you deal with grants, capital projects, or internal projects. Now, internal projects is something, a new thing, and basically I'm going to explain what internal projects are. We're going to start with grants. And the PC business unit, there's only 3 values that are appropriate. USC SP, the SP standing for Sponsored Programs. There's USC CP, the CP standing Construction Projects. And then there's USC IP for Internal Projects. Okay? So sponsored programs, you put in USC SP, you come over to the project ID, and this project ID will be a, if I can count right, I think it's an 8 to 9 character field. It's all numeric for grants. And if somebody will help me, is it 3? Starting with 3s?
Grants start with
2s. So if you see the product ID starting with a 2, you know automatically it's a grant. okay, just by look. So we tried to put them in series numbers so that you wouldn't have to. We started off with the thought of, we'll start with the number 1, and each one of them, as they need a number, would take the next number. Well, then the folks, the PeopleSoft experts said, yeah, but how are you going to do any kind of searching if you need a range of search on grants if they're all over the spectrum? So we went with the leading number. If you see there's a 1 there, grants will start with a 2. And then there'll be 0, 0, 0, and then at the end, they'll be their numbers. So right now, I think we're into the first 4 digits of the grants, all right? Now, the next group is construction projects or capital projects. You may hear it both ways. And those will start with 5s. So if you see a 5, you know it's a project here on the Aiken campus. Or if you're looking at another campus, you'll know that it's a project on another campus. All right? Then we go to internal projects. And that's where I'm going to try to explain what we tried to use this for. And I don't know how many you have, but I know you have some. Startups, incentives, Magellans, basically where professors get money to start up their labs, where it's an incentive to come to the Aiken campus, and the money is given to the professor for the first 2 years, could be first 3 years, could be 5 years. But internal projects are basically going to be anything that where you can figure out there's a start date and then there's an end date. And if you think about those professors, you're getting them started, you're furnishing their lab, and you have an agreement with them that it's going to be 2 years. We're going to give you $10,000 in the first year, $10,000 in the second year, and then that's all you get, and then you should be on your feet. Okay? So if you think of it that way, where you can see a beginning and an end date, that's where we're going to start using internal projects. And what you're going to see in this project ID is the words aspire, incentive, startup. All the Magellan, there are a few other ones that basically describe the type of money that it is coming from, right? Now, in the activity ID, for sponsored programs and capital projects, the value is just going to be the digit 1, okay, all the time. Now, after we get used to understanding how we could better use this field, we may expand on it. But for those 2 type of projects, it's going to be 1. Now, for the internal projects, it's going to be a digit, all the digits, 3, 6, about 9 digits. They're each going to have their own number. And that will tie you such that it's incentive, and then it's tied to Professor Smith. The number in the activity ID tells you that that is tied to Mr. Smith, okay? And then if it's Mrs. Jones on the next one, it's going to be incentive and a new number, and that's for Mrs. Jones, okay? All right. Now, our last field is cost share, because we all love cost share with our grants. So we had to come up with a way to do cost share. And this was a late addition. For those of you who may have come to Columbia and seen this presentation, you're like, I don't remember cost share. This was a very late addition. We thought we were going to do it one way, and then we discovered we thought you never cost shared against another grant until we were educated by the grant office that you can cost share against another grant. So you may not do it here at Aiken, but we're being told that it can happen, so you have to build it for the way it could happen. So what this field is going to do here is up here in the accounts, you may be using your A account. you're spending out of your A account, and you want to show it as cost share, and in this field, you're going to put the grant that you're cost sharing against. So the field here is the grant you're cost sharing with. Now, if you're using another grant and you want to cost share against that, up here you put all the information, and down here you put USC SP. You put the grant number and a 1, and then you put the cost share of the grant that you're cost sharing against. All right. So for those of you, it's not all these bottom 4 are not mandatory in all transactions. It's only if you dabble in the grants area or construction area or internal project area. Okay. So if all you normally do is deal with the A funds, you're probably staying up on the top line most of the time, or any of the other funds. But if you have the grants, then you're going to have to learn the values of the lower part too. Okay. Any questions? The next slide is going to show you some examples. I know it's kind of hard to listen to me talk about it without seeing examples, so I'm going to give you some examples of what goes in each one of those fields. Okay. Any questions? All right. Okay, we're an operating unit. If you remember, to the far left, it was operating unit. Here are the values that are loaded. You can see Aiken, AK000, Buford, Lancaster, Salkehatchie, Sumter, Union, Upstate, and the 2 med schools. Now, if you look to the far right, the new departments, yours will start with 91, XXXX, okay? And the other campuses that way. Now, Columbia, CL, and then they have, in these 000s, they have numeric values, okay? Because they split it out between finance and all their different areas. And what we have done for all the campuses is set it at one level to go live. And then once you guys get used to the system and get comfortable, and Joe feels comfortable with it, you can expand and put other values in there to break out the campus. But we're not, for go live, we're going to leave it all clumped at one level. All right?
That includes HR's go live.
Yes. And which I probably need to stop now. And I'm assuming everybody knows when we're going live. Finance is going live July 1st, 2015. And I know it's coming quick. And as soon as we get to June, it's going to be, the roller coaster is really going to start going fast down the tracks. Right now, it's way too fast for me now. I can just imagine what's going to happen when we get into June. Just to give you an idea, we talk about July 1st, but you know that's the middle of a week, and are we really going live July 1st? And the plan is we have a holiday July 3rd for the July 4th. July 4th is a Saturday, and the 6th is Monday. So our true go live in PeopleSoft is July 6th. So that will be a very enjoyable Monday. We're already planning on that. The team in Columbia will be working all weekend long to get this conversion flipped over. We are doing a portion of it at the end of May, and the environment, the live environment, will be out there for the purchasing folks. And the reason being is all of you that have purchase orders out there, you would like to do business on July 6th and buy things for the Aiken campus, I'm sure. So they need to start putting in all those purchase orders that they have sent you and said, do you want to renew all these blanket purchase orders, or don't you want to renew all these blanket purchase orders? And so all the ones you said yes, of course they have to be in the system in order for you to buy things. So that is what they're doing in the middle part of June. They're going to become great data entry persons. They are going to be going heads down, fingers fast, putting all those in. And then they're going to put those in and have them ready for day one, such that they can send those purchase orders out to our vendors and say, ready to go. There's another group of purchase orders that you're currently working on that are going to run past June 30th and into the new year, and they need to be into the new system also, and those will have to be entered during that same time period, but we won't know what the exact balance is, such that what we're going to do is, if we look at that purchase order now and it's $1,000, we're going to load it as $1,000. But by the time we go live, you probably purchased 2 more things off of it, and it's down to $950. And we'll have to adjust that purchase order right after we go live to $950 to get the system in sync. But we don't want to wait until we go live and start keying those purchase orders that you continuously use past the fiscal year. So those have to be in place. So that's what we'll be doing over the 4th of July. So while you are having your barbecue, we will be in Columbia working to get the system up. But because we have a staged approach, I think we will make it. We're not going to do a big bang all that weekend, try to load everything. We're basically going to do it in the whole month of June in stages, okay? Also, we have 10 years worth of summary data going into PeopleSoft. So it goes back to 2005 summary. So that means not all the detail all the way down to the transaction is there. Just your totals at your department fund level are there for the 10 years, okay? That way you can report off of it. That's what the controller's office and the CFO wanted. They wanted 10 years. And it's been a challenge, but we're going to get there. We've got it balanced, and so it's in there correctly at this point, okay? All right, now, the next slide are funds. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question on what you just said. We had June 30th audits. Will the old system still be available, so when the auditors come on campus, we kind of tell the auditors, okay, this is where you need to go, and they can pull the information from the system to audit our records?
The question was, is for June 30th, will the system, the old system still be up for audit purposes and year-end processing and that kind of thing? And basically, yes. The current year that we're in will stay up in IMS, and they will process that in IMS and close the books in Columbia. And the auditors, when they come, they will be looking at IMS. They won't be looking at PeopleSoft. Then what will happen is all the payments, post-close payments, will be in the new system, in PeopleSoft. But all the entries will be in the old system. And then those 7-4 payments, we'll move them back into the old system by doing an entry. So the auditors will look at IMS for one more period, which is June 30th of this year, okay? And then after that, as far as finance is concerned, we'll be done with IMS. The reason I say IMS will be done, I can't say that IMS will be done, is because we still have HR and payroll. And I'm sure everybody in this room would like to continue to get paid. So they're staying in IMS for the next 6 months, which their go live is January 1st of 2016. As far as I know, they're on target to make that date. And so when we come back from Christmas, we will be in a new PeopleSoft system for HR and payroll. And they will be coming along. I don't want to answer any HR payroll questions because I always get in trouble. Somebody says, the guy told me you were going to do it this way, and then they make other decisions. But they will be coming through on the same kind of roadshow, I would assume, to explain the HR payroll side of PeopleSoft. So IMS will not be closed down until they go live, and probably even a little time after that. Okay. So does that answer your question about the year end?
Yes, sir.
Yes. And Elliott Davis will know where they need to go, and as far as for the year and all. Okay. Okay, we're back to funds. Like I said, we're still having A funds. We broke down the B funds to give a little bit more detail. Put BD for dining, the H for health center, R for residency, and then the C's we've broken down to better describe. And I apologize for the small letter. That it's not supposed to be a small letter. It's supposed to be a big letter. But when you put these things together on a laptop, they look fine. And then when you come to a presentation, it shows how well you need to put reading glasses on. So CA, the B's, the D, parking for P, and vending, and then other auxiliaries. D's, the student activity fees. E's are still E's. F's are still F's. G's, L's, all the way through till we get to scholarships, okay? So those of you who work with the scholarship accounts, currently they're S's. And you can't tell whether they're restricted scholarships or they're unrestricted scholarships. And in PeopleSoft, we have the opportunity to break it out to help those folks out. Now, there may be a small population here at Aiken that even deals with this. But when you see it, you see an SR, that tells you it's a restricted scholarship. And when you see the SU, there's an unrestricted scholarship. All right? On T funds, those are loan funds. So the TFs are federal. So those are your Perkins. I think Aiken still has a nursing loan. I used to work at that way back when, but you may have closed that program. I'm not sure. Then they have emergency loans. I know you have a couple emergency loans. The emergency loans are going to be under TN. Okay? So quickly you can see TNs. That's going to be one of your emergency loans. All right? Then you go to the V's. Probably a very small population of people, mostly in Columbia, in the controller's office, deal with these V funds. But we broke those out also. If you see a VP, that's a true permanent endowment. If you see a VR, it's a quasi-restricted, and VT for term, and quasi-endowment unrestricted VU. Then we go to the W's, same, they've always been unexpended plant. X's for debt service, Y's for fixed assets, and every campus has a Z, at least one Z. They're still going to be there. Okay, they still mean the same thing. When you need a Z, that's where you'll go. That'd be agency. All right. All right. Okay. Somebody asked for the class code. Now, don't fall out of your chair. I told you it went from 100 all the way to 900. And we put them all on the screen. And probably the folks in the back, it just looks like a bunch of ants running around on the screen. But basically you have instruction in the 100s. And at each of the 100, at the 100 level, it breaks it down. So see, 203 research is 200, public service is 300, academic support is 400, student services is 500, institutional support is 600, and it goes on each at the 100 level. Those 100 levels, you can't use those values. So those are not valid values. This is why. Everything in the 100s from 101 to 105 roll up to 100 for reporting. So if you have instruction, you can use one of 101 through 105. Your values will be there. And then it rolls up to the 100s. And each of them roll up to the 100, the hundreds category. All right? Now, just in case you wanted to know, these are the legacy values. The program and subprogram, if you remember, these are the values in our current system. Now, like I said, it was behind the scenes, so probably nobody ever knew it was there. You just used your department fund and you spent, and you didn't even know what these values were. But in PeopleSoft, we have to put one of these 3-digit numbers in on each transaction. But like I said, each account, we're going to do a crosswalk, look at our crosswalk, and basically it will tell you what that value is. You put in your current 17110 AO10, and I'm not sure if you have an AO10, but you do, then you put that in, and it's going to explode out what the PeopleSoft values are. So that tool is going to be your friend for a very long time until you learn all the new values. Okay, and we're going to show it. I'm going to show on the screen how to get there. And when we come back from our break, we can actually try to go live, and we can test any account you want to put in there, and we'll show you what your values are. But basically, this is a screenshot of PeopleSoft. Okay? You go up to the main menu, click on main menu, and before I click this button and you see a whole big drop-down box of things, I have super user access because I'm training and I'm also testing the system. The users everywhere will have a very small list of folders that they do. It's based on what we call roles. So it's what you do lets you do things in PeopleSoft. So your list will be much smaller. So please do not get excited when you see a long list. And this is a relatively short list. But you go to USC Conversions, that folder, and then you go to USC Chart Field Mapping. And it brings you to this screen. All right? Now, you can see right up here in this corner here, it's asking you for your USC Department Fund. That is your current USC Department Fund. So, you can put in 17110 and a wild card, and the wild card is the percent sign here. Okay? So if you wanted everything 17110, you wanted to learn everything, even though you may not use all the accounts, you want to do that, you would put that in that field there, and then you would, because, like I said, we have 10 years worth of data here, your account may have different values over those 10 years if it moved around. On this campus, that probably is not pertinent, but in Columbia, they like to move accounts around from one college to another every year. So at one year it's under chemistry, and another year it's under biology, and they just bounce it back and forth. So that's why you have to choose your fiscal year. But for everybody here, I would say put 2015 in there. If you don't put anything there, and you click the search button, you're going to get every value for 10 years. And then if you ask for 17110 in all their accounts, that list is going to be very, very long. Okay? So you can ask for anything, and you'll get what you ask for. Okay? So try to cull it down as best as you can. And then you click the search button, and I'm going to tell you already, because I've been frustrated myself, you got to get right in the center of that search and click it. If you try to click on the edge, it doesn't go anywhere, and you think, oh, the system's not working. And then the consultant will come over and say, click in the middle, and it works perfectly. So I've learned, okay, I've hit the search, and if you'll look up here, I put in 17110A, and please don't get concerned that we don't stop at 32. We've got to keep on going. It's all I could get in the screen. Okay? But what I was asking, or what I was showing you, is it gives you your department and your fund, and you notice this description, and it looks pretty blank, because it is pretty blank. We didn't even have that yesterday. When we were at Salkehatchie, that column wasn't even there. They are constantly updating the system before we go live, and this afternoon they are supposed to go in and put the values there. So they have created the field, and today's they're hoping to put the values there, such that it will tell you whatever 17110 A000 is, that description will be there. So you get the comfort level of knowing, oh, I don't use 21 all the time. What is that? And then when you see the name of it, you'll know what it is. More importantly, over here are the values in PeopleSoft. And AK00, we've talked about, as your operating unit. Department number, we said everything's going to start with a 91. And you can see that there are different values for each one of those A's. And if you look at the fund code, there's only one fund for A. It's A0001. So this is a different concept from our current system in that we have one department, many funds. In PeopleSoft, they don't like it that way. They like it limited number of funds, many departments. Okay? So we're just going to have to get used to that concept. But there is every account in our current chart of accounts for Aiken and every campus has been mapped to a new value. All right? Now, you look over here at the class field, everybody was getting upset that they were going to have to try to figure out what their account, what the value is. It's already mapped. There's 101. So all these have been deemed to be teaching. All right? 901, I think that's in the facilities area. All right? But that's your value. You can just learn that, 101. If you all you use is A003, that's your account, and you don't go outside the boundaries of A003, all you need to know is that value is 101. That's it. You're just going to have to put 101 on every transaction, but it won't change. It doesn't have to change. 101 is your value. All right? Do we have any questions? Oh, the other thing, you may ask, why is this half green arrow sitting here? Because there's always somebody in the room that wants to know, can I bring this to Excel? Can I bring this to Excel? Because I love Excel. That little grid with a red arrow pointing downward, if you see that on any page, not just this page, but any page, that means you can send it to Excel. Click on it, and it sends it to Excel. And then you can slice and dice it and attach it to your computer, whatever you want to do. Yes, ma'am?
So if I typed in the top where it says USC Department Fund, 17110, and then I put my old D920, which I use now,
Yes, ma'am.
and then my 45210, it's going to come up and show me, and I hit search, it's going to show me what I should use now?
Right, except she asked when you put in the value in the USC Department Fund field on the crosswalk table, when you fill it in, is it going to give you the information for the chart fields for PeopleSoft? And it is correct. The only thing I do want to correct you on is that we're only asking for department and fund. So you got to stop. You went 45, 130, or whatever you said. You'll just stop at 17110D, 213, or whatever you said. That'll be where you stop. And then you click search.
Okay.
And then it will only have, as long as you put 2015, it will only have one line. So you can cull this thing down to one line as much as you put. If you wanted to know all the D's, maybe you only work with one of the D's, but if you needed to know all the D's, then you would just, instead of that A, you'd put a D there and put that percentage sign, because that's the wild card, and click search, and it will go and create this right here.